Video games are addictive. I don't know about you, but I've been known to choose to play a game even when I have other, more important things to do. The truth is, video games are designed to be addictive. Video game designers use well-known psychological principles to encourage people to keep playing. Wouldn't it be great if we as educators could design our classes using the same principles to encourage learners to keep learning? Well, maybe we can. I'm Jesse Balanik, and I'm an English language instructor with the Academic Bridge program at Zayed University in Abu Dhabi. Last semester, I implemented gamification in my Academic Bridge program class. Gamification is a relatively new concept, and the gamification of education is even newer. My goal with this presentation is to share my experience with you and hopefully inspire you to try something new with your students. You may be wondering, what is gamification? Here's a concise definition of gamification as I understand it. If this definition sounds slightly behaviorist to you, that's because many gamification principles are directly connected to behaviorist psychology. Personally, I'm not a behaviorist and I don't think of students as pigeons in a Skinner box. However, the fact is, game designers use behaviorist principles very effectively to keep players playing, so why shouldn't teachers use them to keep learners learning? Before I go on, I also want to be clear about what gamification is not. Gamification is not teaching or learning through games themselves. There is a parallel trend in education called serious gaming, which deals with using games themselves as teaching tools. James Paul G is a prominent voice in the serious gaming movement. It's an interesting movement, it has a lot of potential, but it's not what I'm going to talk about today. So if you are hoping to find out how to use games to teach, I apologize. I hope you will still watch this presentation and find something useful and interesting. So there are 4 main behaviors that I hoped to encourage in my class. I know, I was being pretty ambitious. These are behaviors that every teacher would like to see in their students. And in order to encourage these behaviors, I employed several game elements. These are the game elements I included. I designed each of these game elements to encourage all 4 behaviors I targeted. In theory, all the game elements should work together to encourage all desirable behaviors. Now, I'm going to talk about each of the following game elements in detail and discuss how they helped my students to do these behaviors I hope to see. This is a screenshot from a very popular video game series called Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is a role-playing game. While playing, the player adopts the persona of a character in the game. As the player progresses through the game, his or her character encounters many monsters which the character must slay. Every time the character slays a monster, he or she gains experience points. In the world of Final Fantasy, experience points are a numerical representation of the character's, and by extension, the player's, skill level. Sound familiar? Do you ever try to quantify your student's skill level? As educators, we typically use percentage grades or letter grades to quantify a student's knowledge or skill. But, as I'll demonstrate, XP grading has several advantages over the traditional methods. And the best part is, we don't actually need to change anything about how we assess our students to implement it. XP grading can be applied to any educational system that uses quantified assessment. It's remarkably easy to convert a weighted percentage system into an XP-based grading system. In fact, both systems can exist in parallel, which is exactly what I did in my course. This helped the students to feel comfortable with the new system because they could always refer to the old system as well. The main advantage of XP grading is it highlights progress towards a goal rather than measuring students against an imaginary ideal. Before I talk more about the advantages of XP-based grading, I would like to highlight some of the problems I've experienced with weighted percentage grading. Perhaps you've experienced these problems as well. In the Academic Bridge program, we have an enormous number of discrete assessments. In an 8-week course, I have no less than 21 individual assessments, not including their final exams. That works out to more than 2.5 assessments per week. It's a lot for the students to process, and frankly, many of our students don't have the strong math skills. Frankly, that's something I have in common with my students. The weighted percentage system just tends to confuse them. In order to demonstrate, I created a hypothetical class with only 10 assignments, each worth 10% of their final grade. To pass this course, the hypothetical student needs a 70% average. This is a line graph of their cumulative percentage as they progress through the course from assignment 1 to assignment 10. First of all, when you see this line graph, is there any obvious sense of progression? I certainly don't see it. Secondly, if you divide the course into roughly 2 sections, the first 5 assignments and the second 5, you'll see a clear distinction. In the first half of the course, the student's weighted total fluctuates between 80 and 70%. In this part of the course, the student isn't quite sure where he or she stands, as each assignment tends to significantly change their weighted average. Notice the change in the student weighted average between assignments 1 and 4. As a teacher, we understand this because there are fewer assignments, so each individual assignment has a greater effect on their weighted average But, unfortunately, many of my students do not understand this. However, in contrast, in the second half of the course, you see a leveling out of change. We know this is because there are more assignments included in their weighted average, so each one affects it less. Admittedly, this hypothetical student is not the most consistent of students, but they are no more consistent in the second half of the course than they were in the first. A statistician would tell us that when this happens, we are reaching a point where we've taken enough samples to confidently determine an accurate average. Confidence occurs, from a statistical perspective, when an outlying result will not significantly change the average. Unfortunately, my students are not statisticians and often fail to understand this. I have an animated graph that demonstrates the students' achievement as displayed by their weighted total as they progress through the 10 assignments in this hypothetical scenario. As we watch, we can see that even though the students' grades on individual assignments vary widely, their weighted percentage seems to just hover around 70%. I can predict with a great deal of confidence that if this hypothetical student were real, I would hear a knock on my office door not long after I released the marks for assignment 9. I'd look up and see the student and hear him or her say, "Teacher, why is my mark only 73%? I got 92 on my last assignment, but my average only went up by 2%. In my hypothetical model, the student gives up and bombs assignment 10, but it doesn't really matter anyway, because their final grade is already a foregone conclusion, at least in their eyes. So weighted averages are difficult for our students to understand, tend to create uncertainty in the early stages of the course, and reduce student agency in the later stages. Also remember that in this hypothetical scenario, each assignment is equally weighted. Varying relative weighting of assignment adds an additional level of complexity to a weighted average system. Here is the exact same student's achievement as illustrated by experience point. I've added a couple extra columns. XP earned is the XP the students earned for each individual assessment, and total XP is their cumulative total of experience points. And now, a passing grade is 7,000 XP rather than 70%, which is actually exactly the same thing. Now, do you see a clear progression towards a goal? Yes, it's much clearer, right? Anyone with a business background would love to be able to change the look of a graph showing the stocks they've invested in just by changing the way it's displayed. Everyone loves to see a line going up. Also notice how the student doesn't actually achieve their goal of 7,000 XP until the very last assignment. This maintains the student's feeling of agency and what Jane McGonigal calls urgent optimism, which is the feeling that an epic win is always possible and that your immediate action is required to achieve it. You can see how XP grading highlights continual progress toward a goal. The idea is this encourages students to work hard both in and outside of the classroom as the students work toward their goal. It is clear how each assignment contributes to their overall progress. I've got another animated graph to illustrate the continual progress. In this example, each assignment contributes towards achieving a goal, and their cumulative XP is always increasing. Even when a student fails an assignment, for example, assignments 3 and 8, still contribute to their overall achievement of their goal by adding 560 and 550 XP respectively. The progress is also clearly less than the progress made with assignments 4 and 9, which add 870 and 920 XP respectively. Even after passing a level, many gamers will play the same level over and over again to earn 3 stars or to beat their high score. It just feels good. XP also encourages students to want to retake or redo assessments to earn more XP. I allowed my students to take online quizzes as many times as they wished, within a limited time frame, to earn the most XP they could. Most students chose to retake quizzes because it was clear how earning XP gets them closer to their goal. By allowing them to fail, grow, and try again, quizzes become learning tools which contribute to the development of mastery, rather than simply an assessment tool designed to provide a two-dimensional snapshot of their achievement at one point in time. This fosters the idea that failure is a starting point, not an ending point. In most games, the player's score is secondary to the primary objective, which is to finish or beat the game. Remember Super Mario Bros. On the original Nintendo? Did you beat it the first time you play it? No, nobody ever does. Most kids never made it past World 1-1 the first time they picked up a controller. In video games, players are expected to fail, and more importantly, they're also expected to learn from their failure and try again. Why don't we expect the same from our students? Why don't we give them the chance to fail, learn, and try again? This may sound shocking, but I think we should be expecting our students to fail more. But most importantly, as their teachers, we have to give them the opportunity and motivation to learn from their failure and try again, and then win. We should also build into our courses little successes, periodic positive reinforcement that highlights their continual progress towards a goal. Here's another screenshot from the Final Fantasy series. In Final Fantasy and many other role-playing games like World of Warcraft, players level up when they reach predetermined levels of XP. In these games, characters level up when they reach a predetermined level of XP. Typically, there is a visual display on the screen and triumphant music plays. This triggers an intense feeling of accomplishment and euphoria in gamers. After leveling up, the character grows stronger and is able to successfully overcome challenges that were previously impossible. In my class, students leveled up every 250 XP. They earned coins for each level they passed, and the coins increased as they moved up through the levels. More on coins later. For now, it suffices to say, I provided coins for students as they level up in order to give their progress through the course tangible and valuable rewards apart from their grades. Passing the course is the ultimate goal, but this reward only comes at the end of the course, when motivation is no longer required. Leveling up, combined the tangible rewards, provides ongoing positive feedback to the students as they progress through the course, not only at the end. The point is to periodically remind students that they are continually moving forward and they are always getting stronger and closer to their goal. To return to behaviorist psychology for a moment, leveling up is simply a positive reinforcement schedule, and it is one of the game mechanics that is most compelling in video games. This is a screenshot from a gamification solution called Front Square that applies the principles of gamification to corporate training. Leaderboards can be highly motivational for the competitive portion of the population. A classic version of the leaderboard is the old tennis ladder, where lower-ranked players can challenge higher-ranked players with the hope of reaching first place. Leaderboards are a way to both recognize exemplary students and to promote positive competition between students at all levels of achievement. One advantage of the leaderboard is that students don't have to only complete to reach first place. They can also compete against each other at lower ranks. Leaderboards can be motivating for some students, but will not motivate all. The hope of moving up in the leaderboard should encourage students to study and work hard in order to do well on the assignments so they will earn more XP. There is a risk, however, that leaderboards can be demotivational for lower achieving students. In order to mitigate this risk, I allowed my students to choose their own code names in order to remain anonymous if they so chose. Here's an actual screenshot from my class leaderboard. I used Google Drive spreadsheets to manage my XP and coins. These can be embedded in Schoology or Edmodo. The technical back end of gamification is not the purpose of this presentation, but I'd be happy to answer some questions via email. In a nutshell, after every assignment, I entered the students' grades into a Google spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet calculates their accumulated XP. Then I sort the list from highest to lowest. That was my leaderboard. You may notice that colors are integrated into my leaderboard. Colors represent team membership. This is an image from World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft, players must work together to defeat the toughest monsters. Each member of the team has unique abilities that are essential for team success. In World of Warcraft, it's impossible to defeat the biggest monsters alone. The social aspect of games such as World of Warcraft is one of the most rewarding elements to gamers. Gamers love to work together. I attempted to foster that same kind of positive cooperation in my class. At the start of the term, I allowed students to form and name their own teams. The only rule was team size limits, no less than 4, no more than 5. Ideally, I would have liked to have each team have exactly 4, but I had an odd number of students in my class. There are certain achievements that can only be won by teams. This encourages students to work together to achieve common goals. More on achievements later. This also provides incentive for stronger students to help weaker students, as doing so will actually benefit the stronger students directly. Teams also allow for another level of friendly competition, which I found was highly motivational for my students. Students in the UAE seem to love team competitions, especially when there is a tangible benefit for themselves. Here's a snapshot of my team rankings from the midpoint in the semester. Because of the different number of teams, students on teams, I ranked them by their average XP of their members. This involves more math than I would have liked, but it worked. If I had teams with equal numbers, I would have just ranked them by their total team XP. This is a screenshot from my current video game addiction, Jetpack Joyride. In video games, achievements are awards for you win by doing something difficult, interesting, or just plain weird in a game. For example, as you can see, I've already accomplished 21 of 36 possible achievements, including completing 40 missions. I know, right? I'm pretty awesome. In my class, I award achievements for exceptional work. For example, scoring over 90% on a quiz will win the student the Super Genius achievement, and scoring 100% of an online quiz will earn the student a Perfecto achievement. I also give achievements for other behaviors I would like to promote. For example, I have an achievement called Persistence. Students can earn for taking the same online quiz 3 times, and one called Night Owl, which is an achievement for submitting an online quiz between midnight and 6 a.m. These achievements are designed to encourage students to complete work outside of regular class times. I awarded all of these achievements at least once in the course. Here are some of the individual achievements my students could win. As you can see, they are all designed to reward and encourage exceptional behavior. Notice how different achievements earn different amounts of coins based on their relative difficulty. More again on coins later. As I mentioned before, some achievements can only be won by teams. Here are some of the team achievements my students could win. The idea behind team achievements is that they encourage students to work together and support their teammates. This was one of the main ways I was hoping to promote attendance and punctuality by encouraging the students to police each other and encourage each other to be at class and on time. However, attendance proved to be one of the most difficult behaviors to affect. When a student earned an achievement, I posted an announcement on Schoology, which was also simultaneously tweeted to my class Twitter account. This provides positive reinforcement and public recognition of hard work. I also used badges to recognize achievements. As students complete achievements, I awarded them badges which appeared on their personal profile screen, which, if it is public, allows them to show off to their fellow classmates. Even if they choose to keep their personal details private, badges provide a permanent reminder of what achievements they completed during the course. Finally, coins. Here's another screenshot from Jetpack Joyride where the character, Barry Steak Fries, is collecting some coins while a scientist in a hazmat suit runs in fear below him. Coins are a common feature in many games and are typically collected in the game, and then can be used to purchase items that can either help the player do better in the game or just make them look cool. In Jetpack Joyride, for example, you can spend coins on items that give your character special abilities or on different costumes that make no difference to the actual gameplay but look wicked cool. I incorporated an in-class economy into my gamified class, and coins are its currency. In my class, students earn coins for leveling up and winning achievements. Coins buy items which, like in video games, can indirectly help the students be successful, that is, earn more XP. Here's some of the beneficial items for sale in the Jetpack Joyride stash. Notice my rather large bank account. I've been saving up for something special. This is a list of special ability items. For example, a Head Start will blast you forward 750 meters at the beginning of the game. As the point of the game is to travel as far as possible, a Head Start is a big advantage. As I said, items are things students can buy with their coins, which can help them to be successful in the course. Some items can be used indirectly to increase their XP, by, for example, allowing them to resubmit a written assignment after revising it. Some items are used for other things. Here's a partial list of the items that were available in my class's item market. The Magic Eraser was the most popular item. Now, I want to be clear. I don't just change a student's mark for a fee. The student must approach me after class and explain why the answer he gave is incorrect, give the correct answer, and explain why it is correct. Only then do I change the mark. It is also one of my favorite items because it turns tests into learning tools, not just assessment tools. Students are encouraged to think critically about their mistakes and try to figure out what the correct answer is. By adding this one item, I've totally changed the way my students interact with their quizzes. In the past, students would look at their marked quiz, check the number on the front, maybe compare with the neighbor, and give it back to me, often with a shrug. Now, they get together in groups to find out who's got the right answer to a question they got wrong and try to elicit an explanation from their classmates before coming to me to change their grade. I also think that students really like the fact they've been given a degree of agency over their test scores. By changing even one or two questions, they feel a much greater degree of ownership and control over their own achievement, even though changing a few wrong answers on a quiz makes a very small impact on their overall achievement. Nevertheless, it creates a feeling of agency and the ability to affect their grades even after they've completed a test. Thanks for watching this presentation. My hope is that it will inspire you to try something new with your students. It's time we as educators break ourselves out of the 19th and 20th century paradigms of education and try something different. Please feel free to contact me at jessebalanik@zu.ac.ae for any follow-up questions or comments. Thanks again for your time and attention.